Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me and see me okay, and you can see the presentation. Thank you so much for joining us at this second workshop on access to finance. The theme of this workshop is sustainable finance and strategies for sustainable entrepreneurship. So as you know, these workshops are organized under the INVESTMED project. And they are organized by EMEA, the Euro-Mediterranean Economists Association. So these workshops, we aim to connect the INVESTMED beneficiaries, that's all of you, whether you're sub-grantees or trainees. We're aiming to connect you with these financial actors and support systems to have better access to finance through a diversified means. So as you know, the previous workshop was on crowdfunding. This time, we've got experts on sustainable finance and grants and accelerators and incubators. And we'll have 2 more sessions before the end of the project. So firstly, a few housekeeping things. If you're a participant, I would ask you to keep your microphone off throughout the series of presentations and put your questions in the chat that we have. And I will note them down and we will try and get to them all at the end of the session. As you know, there's a long question and answer session to be had. Or alternatively, keep your questions in mind and you can raise your hand when we're at the end of the session, and I'll let you open your microphone and you can ask the questions directly yourselves. Okay. So before we start, I'm leaving these QR codes on the screen. The first one is so you can connect to the INVESTMED engagement platform. So this is a platform that's run by EMEA under the project. And it's a place where all the INVESTMED beneficiaries and other people involved in the network can get together and can connect and interact with one another. On there, you'll also find all of the resources related to the webinars that we held last year, along with all of the presentations of all of the speakers. So it's a really useful resource. And we also have the EMEA mailing list QR there. So if you want to keep up to date with the EMEA news and other workshops related to our other projects or initiatives, please do subscribe there. It's a link to our website. And if you scroll down, you can subscribe to the EMEA mailing list. Okay. So today, the slide's a bit stuck. The agenda is we have a short introduction from myself, and then we start with Gianluca Gasparini, who will talk about ethical banks, greenwashing and the social economy. He's the project manager at Febea. Then we have Giorgio Mosangini, who will talk about the Switches Support Program. Then we have Dr. Mohamed Abbas, who will discuss accelerators and incubators in Egypt. Then we have Johanna von Toggenburg, who is based in the Middle East region, and will discuss Lebanon and the region in the blue economy. And then Sharifa von Gobrain, who will discuss the cultural and creative industries in Tunisia. So just so you get a bit more about our speakers. So Gianluca Gasparini is the capacity building manager and project manager at Febea, which is the European Federation of Ethical and Alternative Banks and Financiers. So he has a long history of experience with Febea. And as I said, we'll talk mostly about ethical banks and greenwashing and how to avoid those things to move forward with that avenue of access to finance. Then we have, the screen is still getting stuck, Giorgio Mosangini, who's the team leader of Green Entrepreneurship and Civil Society at MedWaves. So MedWaves is the regional activity center for sustainable consumption and production based here in Barcelona. And MedWaves implemented the Switches Support Program, which Giorgio will give you the full details about, which is a capacity building network for the Mediterranean region. Then we have Dr. Mohamed Abbas, who is Associate Director and Head of Business Incubators Program at Nowpreneurs Initiative. So he is based in Cairo. And Nowpreneurs is an incubator under the Nile University. So he's supervising 5 sectors and focuses on the incubators of hardware and software in industrial sectors. So he has a wealth of experience in incubation and acceleration for startups. Then we have Johanna von Toggenburg, who's the Lebanon country manager at CWAS. She's a water expert with over 12 years of experience in the region. And she's also done a lot of work on green initiatives as well. So she will give an overview mostly on the blue and green economies in Lebanon. And then finally, we have Sharifa Bon Gobrain, who is the general manager at Culture Funding Watch, which is based in Tunisia. And she will give an overview of the cultural ecosystem and access to finance in those sectors and in Tunisia. So that's it from me by way of introduction. I give the floor to Gianluca, who will give his presentation on Fevea. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you, Kirsty. And hello, everyone. I have a presentation that I'm going to share. Can you see my screen?
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Okay, very good. Okay, great. So basically, the topic of this first intervention is about ethical banks, ESG and greenwashing in the social economy. Before we go a bit into detail on that, I would like to give you a very short introduction of FEBEA, because perhaps it is not familiar to some of you. So FEBEA is the European Federation of Ethical and Alternative Banks and Financiers. We are a non-profit association that is dedicated to the development of ethical and solidarity-based finance in Europe. And basically, these institutions are of various sizes and of various types of organizations. We have foundations, we have banks, and similar institutions, and we are present in 16 European countries. The size of our client base is around 700,000 people, and the total assets of our members is around 30 billion euros. So ethical finance is a concept that might sound a bit strange to some of you, but it has a few characteristics that set it aside from, let's say, mainstream finance. The idea of ethical finance in the FEBEA's mindset is to put the citizens at the center and contribute to sustainable development throughout the activities. The third point you can see here is what we can call also the triple bottom line point of view. So the idea is that our members finance projects that have sustainability declined in 3 main areas. The first one is the economic sustainability. So what we mean by that is that a project or a business should have economic sustainability alongside social sustainability and environmental sustainability. So alongside, again, like the financial sustainability, we're also talking about the economic activities that promote social cohesion and practices like non-discrimination, like decent work, and this kind of features. And the last pillar of this approach is the environmental sustainability. Of course, here we mean all the activities that do not harm the environment or are actively interested in restoring the environment around an economic activity. So outside of also all these things, some of our members, while we are based in Europe, are also active in other parts of the world. And of course, one of those is indeed the Middle East, North Africa. We also have other members that are active in, for example, Sub-Saharan Africa, Latin America, and so on. So outside of this brief introduction of who we are, and of course, if you have any questions on that, please let us know. Perhaps I would like maybe to spend one more minute before going into the ESG factors, just to perhaps briefly highlight some of the activities that we have done in the region of the Middle East and North Africa, where we have cooperated with the SwitchMed program and the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe to promote sustainable entrepreneurship in the region through these programs and projects. Okay, so going into the ESG factors that have to be, should be involved in the investment decision-making process. The first thing to let's briefly describe is what we mean by ESG. Many of you already probably know what ESG mean, but in any case, the E is environmental, S social, and G governance. And these are some criteria that investors and financial institutions consider when they evaluate the sustainability and ethical impact of an investment. So this, again, as I mentioned before, you probably have already heard of this acronym because in the last few years, ESG has gained quite a lot of traction, and there is this growing movement to incorporate this type of considerations when a financial institution has to start the decision-making process in terms of an investment. Okay, so again, starting from our approach in terms of the triple bottom line, we go into the ESG and we see a lot of parallels here. So the first environmental factors, of course, we are talking about the impact of an enterprise's activity on the environment. So as we said before, we had, let's say, the support or the considerations should be taken into account when evaluating investments, for example, in renewable energy, sustainable agriculture, clean technology, and so on. Not only that, but some financial institutions may also consider the carbon footprint, energy efficiency practices, waste management, and so on. And some of our members, as another example, is also consider for example, the greenhouse gas emissions avoided by this, I don't know, by intervention on this enterprise, for example. For the social factors, again, here to continue, we are talking about labor practices, diversity and inclusion policies, customer relations, and community engagement. Indeed, especially in our approach, it's important the impact of an enterprise on the community and the overall, let's say, the ground around this company. So, for example, other examples are here. So you can see like affordable housing, financial inclusion, and investing in projects that benefit local communities. Indeed, activities by, let's say, our members are also promoting financial inclusion, banking, let's say, what people who were deemed unbankable, and so on. And the last factor to take into consideration is the governance. So here is not necessarily related to the, let's say, outside of a company or like a financial institution's activities, but is mostly about the inside. So, for example, here we are talking about the quality and effectiveness of a company's leadership, the board structure, executive compensation, and transparency in reporting. Also here, for example, the FEBEA members have, as a general rule, and as an average, of course, they have around a 5-to-1 ratio between the highest paid worker and the lowest paid worker, for example. And of course, transparency in reporting also relates to the distribution of money, both in terms of the collection from, let's say, by a financial institution, but also the investment in the, let's say, the final customers. In this case, it's important to have a strong governance because there is a lot of risk of conflict of interest and putting in jeopardy the ethical standards of an institution. So we have talked about all these things that seem to some people, at least I have heard this type of comments, like that this is not really related to the, let's say, again, the bottom line of the economic sustainability. But as I'm trying to argue here, there is quite a lot of things that are very important in ESG factors to consider, also for the sustainability of a financial institution itself. The first is that considering ESG factors helps to reorient the economy in its whole, which is a process that is, there are some efforts ongoing to reorient again the economy into a more sustainable frame. And this is, of course, the sooner organizations think about that, the easier the transition will be. Of course, we're talking about the economy, but also we're talking about the social and environmental transition, of course, because economic activities have an impact, as we have said, into, let's say, society and the environment. And once again, it's important to support activities and sectors that are, again, already engaged in this process. The last point, which I hope will also try to dispel this a little bit this myth of the lack of usefulness of considering these factors, is to have better risk management, because indeed in the decision-making process of an investment opportunity, it's important to assess the risk of climate change, also the impact on society and the governance of the company itself, because these are tangible impacts that have a lot of consequences, also sometimes drastic consequences on the economic activities. So putting together these two things, what I mean by that is like the ethical finance approach and ESG factors. Again, as you have already seen, there are a lot of overlaps, but the idea of ethical finance is to go a bit beyond the concept of sustainable finance and impact investing, because it takes into consideration exactly the ethical values that go a bit beyond what we mean by, let's say, the social impact of economic activities. Indeed, the final goal of sustainable development has indeed this idea of promoting economic development alongside these economic activities that have a beneficial impact on society and on the environment. However, as we have discussed, there are certain risks related to this process. So on the one hand, this increased attention on ESG is positive. However, as we will see, there is a risk of greenwashing. Yeah, so the first step, of course, and I'm giving here the perspective from the EU side, because it also has an impact on its neighboring regions, and there are quite a few investment tools from the EU that also have can be deployed in the MENA region. So the EU Action Plan on Sustainable Finance is the first of such tools that, let's say, paved the way for creating this type of more sustainable financial activities. So what we have seen in this process is that a growing number of banks have started to develop public climate strategies, targets, and financial instruments that are claiming to reduce or eliminate the contributions to climate change. However, whereas there is quite a lot of effort in terms of, let's say, communication of the positive impact of certain economic activities, there is a growing gap between what is, let's say, the plan and what is the reality. And again, this increased attention and this increased number of organizations that are publishing reports and plans for becoming more sustainable create a lot of confusion in terms of what is real, let's say, sustainable products, or what we said greenwashing, which is of course this type of activities where it's only, let's say, the facade of economic activities that are painted green, but they remain business as usual. So the idea is that the challenge is there is the traditional corporate culture that clashes with the sustainable finance agenda, with, let's say, short-term financial returns and increased profits. So to conclude, and I hope I didn't overstep my time, whereas this seems a bit challenging and difficult to have an influence on, we can do something about this on our own. First of all, as consumers and customers, because this is who we all are, no matter if we are, let's say, entrepreneurs, banks, or public authorities, we all are consumers and customers of certain services or products. We can decide where to put our money by choosing financial providers that are committed to making and leaving the world a better place. This has been a challenge, which also relates to the importance of doing one's own research in terms of the organizations that we deal with in our day-to-day lives. So indeed, it's important to make informed choices. And again, as customers, we also have the power to demand for more transparency and coherence. And in the end, to reflect what also our public authorities and regulators are asking to the financial sector to be active on. And on the final point, as again, here we have lots of entrepreneurs, it's in our interest to implement these ESG considerations in our activities, not only as, again, as said before, to start this reorientation of the economy as soon as possible, which puts companies in a better position in the longer term, but also, as we have seen, there is a shift in the development of sustainable financial products, and having already historic reporting on ESG practices, it can pave the way for additional funding and opportunities that may be precluded to, let's say, business as usual enterprises. With that, I conclude my presentation. I'm going to stop sharing, and I hope I didn't overspend my time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gianluca. That was a really great presentation. I think ESG is clearly one of the key points that we all need to be thinking about for the next couple of years in this transition, and all of our entrepreneurs have something to take from that, I would say. So thank you so much for your presentation. We will now move on to Giorgio, who is the team leader of Green Entrepreneurship at Medwaves. And he will give a presentation about the Switches Support Program. So Giorgio, over to you.
Thank you very much, Kirsty. Thank you very much for having us. Good afternoon, everybody. If you can just confirm that you can see my screen.
Yep, all good.
Great, thank you. So, well, I'm Giorgio Musangini, as Kirsty was mentioning, from Medwaves. Medwaves is the UNEP-MAP Regional Activity Center for Sustainable Consumption and Production. So we are a center that works under the umbrella of the Barcelona Convention. The Barcelona Convention is an international treaty that is all the countries of the Mediterranean are parties, contracting parties of the Barcelona Convention, and also the European Commission. So as Kirsty mentioned, one of our major programs that we are implementing is the Switches Support Program. The switches for us are the sustainable entrepreneurs, no, the green and circular entrepreneurs, the entrepreneurs and the companies that make this switch towards sustainability. So in the framework of the Switcher Support Program, we provide support to business organizations and entrepreneurs and companies. The program started back in 2014, and we have supported more than 3,500 entrepreneurs so far in collaboration with national business support organizations in the different Mediterranean countries. A piece also of the program that I think can be more interesting today for the participants in the workshop is the toolbox. So we have a web platform in which we offer sustainable business development tools and methodologies for entrepreneurs and companies. And here you can find several methodologies and tools that can be useful. Given the topic, of course, of today's workshop, I will focus especially in the access to finance tool and summarize a little bit the analysis that lies also behind those tools and the supporting activities that we do in terms of access to finance. You can access the Switchers Toolbox in the link that I put in the presentation. It's you just have to register, so it's completely free to access to the platform. You only have to register as entrepreneur and company, and then you will have access to several tools and methodologies. So we have a green business model development tool, a green business plan development tool, an eco design tool that is that will help you to perform a life cycle assessment of your product or your service. We also have a simple access to market tool to do sustainable branding. And finally, an impact monitoring tool, which is right now it's not accessible because we are improving the tool, but it's also an important tool to help companies to assess their environmental, social, and economic impact. So now I will focus essentially in the access to finance tool, given today's topic, and just mention that in the platform, all the tools are available in English, in French, and in Arabic. And so far we have more than 6,500 entrepreneurs and companies registered. So in terms of access to finance, to start with the topics that we are dealing with, first of all, why we are supporting sustainable entrepreneurs, not those switches in access to finance, and why there is a specific tool, and especially all the activities that are developed to support access to finance. Because we see that sustainable businesses, green businesses, face an enormous challenge in terms of access to finance and investments. So most of the sustainable companies, the circular companies, identify access to finance and investment as their top challenge. So this is crucial for them. And why is that? Because normally all the financial flows and investment are oriented towards ICT or high-tech, new technology, etc., because investors are looking for a quick return on investment and also a big return of the investment. No? So this is the opposite of the logic of the sustainable businesses that are growing in a very slow pace, and precisely because they are sustainable in terms of environmental and social impacts, they can't have a very fast growing process and return of investment. Otherwise, if we look for loans, normally banks will give loans to companies that are already quite structured, no? That can offer collaterals and guarantees, or normally financial flows will go to very large projects. So this is a little bit the situation, and also the specific actors that exist, no, as ethical banks or impact investors, etc. Those ones are very few, and sometimes they can be also slow, no, in supporting the entrepreneurs. For the investors, also the green sectors are a challenge because they don't know those sectors. They have to develop specific criteria, etc. So what we have identified with the entrepreneurs that we supported, working also with FEVEA, no, in this kind of work, we saw that there is what we call a missing middle, no, in which sustainable businesses, circular businesses, face real big difficulties in accessing to, let's say, from 10,000 euros or dollar up to 100,000 euros or dollars of funding, investment, or credits, or whatever. No? So this is the misalignment between the needs of the sustainable businesses and the financial instruments that are available in the region. So that's why we try to support the green entrepreneurs with whom we work, also in access to finance, and the finance toolkit that you will find in the platform will help you in the 4 main steps, no, in access to funding. So the first steps will be to assess the development stage of the company to understand where we are, no. Then the second step will be to identify our financial needs. So which are the needs in terms of credit, investment, etc. And also, most important, quantify those needs. No? The third step will be to then identify the opportunities that are available in the different countries in which the companies operate. And finally, develop a funding strategy and also an engagement strategy with those financial actors or investors, no, that we have identified according to our needs. So the first step in identifying the development stage of the company, the tool online with a self-assessment, no, and some questions help companies to understand at which stage exactly they are. If they are at ideation stage, so they just have an idea and they're developing a green business model, or if they are at early stage, so they already have a prototype of a product or a service and try to engage with some initial customers, and they have a business plan, they are implementing the business plan, etc. Or they are at a growth stage, so they already have stable incomes, they are profitable, etc. Or they are finally at scale, so they are expanding even to other markets. So that will be the first step, no, to really understand where we are in the process and the life of the company, of the sustainable business, at which point we are right now. Why? Because in it, identify the financial needs, it's also closely linked with the stage in which we are. No, at the ideation stage, probably what we will need is raise some financial support to develop the business model, maybe a prototype, no, test this prototype with potential user, etc., etc. So this is not the moment to look for a financial actor or an investor. We have to look to grants or prices, no, on these kind of instruments. At early stage, we will probably, the basic needs of the companies will be linked to the development of the products and or the service, and to deliver this product and this service to the customers in a way that is viable and can generate revenues. At growth stage, the main needs will be associated with cash flow, no? So we may need credits to ensure that the growth of the company can progress as planned in the business plan. So the third stage in access to finance will be to identify then the investing opportunities, no? Which are the financial actors and investors, and what they can offer in the different countries. Here, the landscape it's huge, no? So we will have plenty of options, and we have to understand to which actors we can try to reach. No, so we can look for grants and awards, microfinance actors, business angels, accelerators, VC, or whatever. Again, this is linked with our stage and also the needs that we have. No, so if we are able to identify at which stage we are and which are our financial and investment needs, then we will see which kind of financial actors and investors can be interested in supporting us and what we can find. For example, at ideation stage, as I said earlier, we will have to look essentially for grants and awards, or for close friends or family that can support the development of the business model, or business development programs, no, international cooperation, for example, that can support us at this stage. At early stage, we can start to look also for maybe crowdfunding, if in our country it's possible, business angels, accelerators, etc. At growth stage, then we can even think about venture capital, or start to see if it's possible to have some credits from commercial banks, etc. With a similar logic, we can also see the needs and opportunities at scale stage. So when we have identified which are the financial actors and the investors that we can approach in order to cover our financial needs, we will have to develop a funding strategy and also an engagement strategy with those investors. Each one of those investors and of those financial actors will require a specific strategy, a completely different strategy, and also different documents, etc. Of course, if we approach a bank, for example, they will ask us a business plan, and also probably business plan according to their own format, etc. If we are approaching a business angel, the most important thing will be to have a pitch that is very strong, and that we can attract their attention with in the minimum amount of time. So in the platform also you will find this kind of guidance in order to define your strategy in approaching those different financial actors and investors. So again, you can find this toolkit in the platform. You will see that it's a very simple tool. You will go through the different stages that I mentioned through self-assessment test, essentially. And this is linked to a database of 250 financial actors and investors in 9 countries, in 9 Mediterranean countries, especially in the southern Mediterranean countries. So according to the results of the self-assessment and also to the countries in which you are based, you will have suggestions of potential financial actors and investors that are relevant according to your business stage and your financial needs. In the platform, you will also find the other tools, that I mentioned that are also crucial, because in order to access to finance, you will need to have a very strong sustainable business model, a sustainable business plan, etc. So I encourage you to have a look to the platform and see the different tools that are available. So that's it. In the framework of the Switcher Support Program, we also have other activities in support of green companies in access to finance in the framework of the different projects, which MENA and other projects. So if you are interested in a specific country, you can also contact us, and we can put you we can link you, for example, with specific activities that we are organizing with local financial actors in terms of elevator pitches, etc. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Giorgio. That was a really great presentation on clearly on the gaps of financing for entrepreneurs in a particular stage of where they're at in their idea. I think it's really important to highlight that and give an idea of where entrepreneurs are and where they should be aiming at, and what types of finance they should be aiming at is clearly very key. I think we can talk a bit more about that later. For now, I will introduce Dr. Mohammed Abbas from Nowpreneurs Initiative with Nile University to give his presentation focusing on Egypt and accelerators and incubators there. Thank you, Mohammed. I give the floor to you.
Thank you, Kirsty. Would you please share it from your side because still I have same problem?
Okay, yes.
Me? Sure.
Give me 1 second.
Sure.
Open it just now, and you tell me when to pass the slide.
Sure. Thank you.
Is this okay?
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Mohammed Abbas, and I'm the Associate Director and Head of Business Incubation Program at Nowpreneurs Initiative. Please, next slide. Actually, we are here representing Nile University and the Nowpreneurs, and we'll go now for the part of what is Nowpreneurs and what is Nile University. Also, when actually I received the invitation to talk about incubation acceleration programs and the type of support in Egypt, I found that we can talk more about Nowpreneurs Initiative as a national initiative, and actually it includes whatever you need about supporting for the financial and non-financial services for startups, entrepreneurs, and the small and the medium enterprises. So let's start with Nile University. Nile University founded in 2007 as a postgraduate and research institution. Then we moved to undergrad institution in 2020, and now we are actually named or be identified as Entrepreneurial University because actually we are using the entrepreneurship system for the education, for the management, and how to handle a lot of research also on the part of the innovation and entrepreneurship. Please, next. Kirsty, next. Okay. But we're actually working through different goals because in the establishment degree of our university, we have 3 goals to support the part of the innovation and entrepreneurship pillars. Starting from the part of exploiting and install entrepreneurship to the benefit of the Egyptian economy and in new growth. Also, we have enhancing the competitiveness of industry through innovation and qualification. Also, we have integrating innovation and entrepreneurship into academic and research fabrics of NU. In this year, actually, we branded as Entrepreneurial University. And we ranked in the top 5 entrepreneurial university of this year through one of the competition in Africa. Next, please. Now we are talking about one of the initiatives already funded by Central Bank of Egypt and operated by Nile University. This is the MEGA grant already funded through the last 6 years from Central Bank of Egypt. In 2007, Central Bank funded Nowpreneurs Initiative, which already a collaboration between Central Bank and the Nile University. What we actually aiming in this initiative is to support the entrepreneurs, startups, and the SMEs actually, and they support the growth for all of them through different services. We will track it actually and show it now, but we are focusing on key strategic sectors like local manufacturing, agriculture technology, also digitalization and digital transformation, emerging technology in ICT. Next. To do this, actually, we can do it alone. Yani. We have local partners and international partners. We have around 10 banks, as it's already shown. They are sponsoring most of the activities and some activities actually for the last 6 years. Next. Also, we have another collaboration and programs initiatives with governmental and another centers, because actually we have one objective to integrate, not compete with other stakeholders in the community here in Egypt. So as you see here, you will find a lot of universities, a lot of projects, another national initiatives, NGOs, and international and national organizations. Next. To talk actually more, Yani, this is what I'm trying, Yani, to show here. We are driving an impact, or actually making an impact here in the community in Egypt through different activities. Show it here at the numbers. This numbers is which already showed by the yellow color. We are talking about 3.5 billion Egyptian pound. It's already facilitation done by BDS Hub, or what is named Business Development Services Hub, which already facilitating the part of the loans for small and medium enterprises, which already making a sales more than 851 million Egyptian pound in the sales for them. Also, our startups, we funded them with we did a cash like a grants through an incubation program, which is around 50 million Egyptian pound, which may let them making sales more than 176 million Egyptian pound. Also, we supported more than 275 startups through our incubation and acceleration program, which led them making an investment around more than 45 million Egyptian pound. This is some numbers actually for the last 5 years achievement. Next. This is our programs. We started as like any startup in the beginning with one program, but now we have around 5 programs. We have MP or Entrepreneurship Professional, which are already supporting the part of technical and the non-technical upscaling capacity building programs. We have it in a physical and virtual, because we have a platforms already established for the part of the education from scratch, basics, skills, and advanced courses. We have an incubation program, which is starting from the pre-incubation, and another 5 incubation programs. We have innovation part, which is already a cross-cutting program through all what we have as a program. Compete program, which already taking the part of the growth through the acceleration or the small and medium enterprise support value chain or export. And we have the BDS Hub, which support the current existing SME through the linkage with the banks and the loans for the part of the bank. Next. So to show more that actually we are talking about a nationwide initiative, this is what kind of support we offer for different types or segments in the community here in Egypt. So this is the existing current support we offer for startups and SMEs. Startups, they can have a support, non-financial and the financial support, cash and in-kind support. The incubation program can offer a cash and in-kind. For the acceleration program, we offer here in-kind support. Small and the medium enterprise, they can have a support, it's a non-financial support, which already making the financial support through the bank, but we offer them a lot of consultation, support of the feasibility studies, handling all the paper and documents already to give them more successful rate for be accepted in the bank actually to receive the loans. Next. This is our incubation program. We have one for the creative design. We are actually the first or the pioneer to start the sector focus incubator, which already different from 6 years ago. It's already focused in the ICT program, maybe, or some in agriculture, maybe. But actually, we started different from the pre-incubation, the part of packaging, product design. We have another one for creative design, which already supporting furniture, creative industry, home decoration. We have also engineering, which support the building material and construction, also waste management, industry 4.0 products. And we have another part for the software as a service, launch SaaS, and another one for the deep tech for tech space incubator. Next. We have another terminology. Actually, we started to do it. One of our services is managing the incubator program, which already not located in within the venue of Entrepreneurs or Nile University, which named as a satellite incubator. So we have another 3 incubators already managed by us. One of them is transformation and the media in the part of journalism incubator, another one in a biotechnology, and third one in the part of youth and the sports. Here we have some of our startups, actually, which already they have a lot of achievement and they have a lot of impact here in Egypt. We are talking about a new technology like Connex, which is using the AI technology in the architecture part. We have Fawatirak was actually one of the pioneer in the part of the e-invoice. We are talking about the Intexil using the AI technology to write the report of some of the breast cancer reports with the AI technology. VIS, which using the satellite image to detect the diseases or the problem of the plants actually. They making like a reporting or prediction report before it happen through the satellite events, satellite images. And we have a lot of the first mobile application fintech technology actually for the part of the real estate here in Egypt. Next. Now we have another part is acceleration. Here the acceleration program is different because as you know, in the occupation program in Egypt, you have to support with the cash or in-kind support to support them from the part of starting from the idea stage to having the prototype, then you have it to support to the final product one. But in the acceleration program, we're here trying to support this part in the gross. So we accept the part, the startups which already spend around 2 years in the market to support them with non-financial support through financial projection or having a support in the valuation, then connect them with investors. And this is all services is zero fees. So it's already for free services. Next. Now this is the part of the SMEs actually, which already linked with there are some relation between this part and the part of the incubators and the acceleration program, because some of our startups is coming to be having the services from BDS Hub. We have now around 69 center BDS or Business Development Service Hub already in all governorates, which already making the relation more easy with the bank to from the visibility study or to having access to the support of the bank through that very easy actually and the more stable channel through the BDS. Next. Here I want to show the part of the ecosystem. So please next. Here the ecosystem actually is, if you are a startup, you need to have like some components of support, talent, funding, support, growth, and network. This map actually is already located, yani this is the upgraded one, and they have another one in 2023. It's in progress now. So you have, if you check this part here, you will find a lot of surfaces, sub-surfaces under the talent part or funding part. The focus here, we are talking about fund, we are talking about pre-seed, seed support, we are talking about business angels, we are talking about private equity or venture VCs, crowdfunding or grants, also credit. So please next. This is our Egyptian stakeholder or ecosystem. Here is the part of whatever entities here in Egypt giving a support in this part. So if you check this part in the pre-seed, you will find some entities, they already giving you a support to making the proof of concept one. Then if you want the support of the seed fund to start your prototype one, you will find another entity to support in this part. And the part of, if you are looking for the growth without the incubation program, if you want to do it through the business angels, you will find some of the stakeholders, they support you in this part also. And you will take it in the growth part. So we are starting from the idea stage, from proof of concept. Actually, maybe it's found most of this actually entities is a research or applied research entities like STDF or ACRT. And then you will find the support to start to the grant part or the venture capital part. So this is the Egyptian economy. They covered, the Egyptian ecosystem, which already having a stakeholder to support starting from the pre-seed to the growth part. Next. Here we are talking about stages. So we have 3 stages from idea to proof of concept, which name it as a pre-incubation cycle or pre-incubation stage. Then we have from the prototype to the final product, which name it as an incubation stage. Then we have from the final product to the growth part, which is the acceleration stage. Whatever the name, we are talking about kind or support or type of support they have as startups or entrepreneurs in these stages to grow. Next. So this is whatever we have here in Egypt. In the pre-incubation, which is already from the idea to a prototype, you can have a small cash pre-seed one fund from 10K to 100K Egyptian pound. And what is more important, to have access for another services like a mentorship or access to facilities. From the next stage with the incubation, which take you from the prototype to MVP or prototype to the final product. They have here more cash support, start from 100K to 300K, and also the mentorship and access to facilities. For the acceleration program, which already taking the growth part after the go-to-market strategy and grow in the market for maybe 1-2 years, which already here taking the part of the investment. It's already from VC or acceleration program or whatever fund, but this is also taking part from 500K and more, but also the part of the mentorship is more important. So this is actually what happened here for the part of the incubation and the acceleration in Egypt in numbers and also through the stages and ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. I hope we did okay with the technical passing the screens. I think it went okay. I think the overview you gave of the Egyptian ecosystem was really great to see. It's amazing that there's a huge array of actors there, and to know in which sector particularly that our entrepreneurs could get the kind of support that they need. I would like to encourage our participants to keep putting questions in the chat. I can see we have one already. We'll get to the questions at the end. But yeah, please do keep putting your questions there. And we'll move on to our next speaker, which is Johanna von Toggenburg. Apologies if I've pronounced that terribly. She's the country manager for CWAS in Lebanon, who will be giving her perspective on the blue economy financing. All right, over to you, Johanna. Thank you.
Okay, I'll just do it like that. Can you see the screen?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, excellent. Hello, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today, and definitely really interesting to hear the previous speakers. And I'll try to make linkages where I can. But today I'll be speaking also about financing opportunities for blue and green entrepreneurship in Lebanon and the region. And the reason that I believe I've been asked to present here today is because CWAS works primarily on aspects of water and sanitation. So basically I'm sure we're not anymore, but we were the world's first dedicated water and sanitation business support organization. And in the past over a decade, we've supported around 350 entrepreneurs. And these entrepreneurs have benefited around 4 million, nearly 4 million people with new or improved water supply and sanitation services. So part of that impact is, of course, related to SDG 6, clean water and sanitation, and you know, the impact that we've managed to create is to save nearly 2 million cubic meters of water and treat over 1 million cubic meters of wastewater, and of course benefit a lot of people along the way. And so this is all reached through our entrepreneurs that we support. So just to kind of see that support, show that support is having actually an impact on the ground. And of course, and depending on the ecosystem that we work in, because we work also a lot in countries where maybe at the initial stages in the water and sanitation sector, entrepreneurship is not something very common or not something very established yet. So but also because water is a topic that, you know, relates very closely to agriculture, food production, you know, health and safety, sustainable consumption and production in some ways. So there's lots of other SDGs that we manage to have an impact on through the work of our entrepreneurs. Just to briefly give you an insight of where we work and in the there's not a zoom in here, unfortunately, but in the region. So I'm responsible for Lebanon. And we have offices in Lebanon, Jordan, and Iraq, in the, let's say, Mediterranean region. We're originally a Swiss organization, but we have, through our various programs, supported also entrepreneurs in Egypt and other countries in the region. The work that we do is basically we provide support from ideation to growth stage through incubation and acceleration. And here again, the countries that we focus on in the region. And just to give you an example of some of the businesses that we support. So for example, this is Compost Baladi. It's a Lebanese social enterprise that focuses on the recovery of organic waste. Basically, they're, we like to use them as an example because we've really been there from the very beginning, and now they're at scaling stage, and they've scaled to Jordan and to KSA. So it's interesting to see the development of an enterprise through these changes, and I think we've been learning with them just as much as they've been learning with us. And then, for example, another relevant enterprise in the water sector is Flowless, who are focusing on non-revenue water, so basically reducing water leakages, reducing water losses, and so on. And why I'm showing you these examples is because I think it's important to understand, and many of you will know this, that when working in the green business sector, you have a very challenging client base. Often you have to work an end user base. You often have to work with municipalities, the public sector. You have to ensure the engagement of the communities that you're working with. And so it's, that sector is particularly challenging because it's not like selling a product and putting a product on the market, but it very often requires a very long-term engagement before even being able to have, your first sale. And we also see that the type of support that is needed and is much more long term. We're also providing support in the entrepreneurial ecosystem, for example, through being very active in the EcoSwitch Coalition, which is like a green entrepreneurship network in Lebanon. There are other similar networks in other countries. We have also contributed to the establishment of one in Jordan and Iraq. And this is also actually because Giorgio was speaking earlier from SwitchMed. This is an originally SwitchMed initiative that we localized through the adaptation of the name, and that is now fully managed locally from different entrepreneurship support organizations. So I want to ask you a little bit, what do you think is the most important aspect for receiving investments? And if you could maybe briefly write in the chat. I'm going to have to stop, maybe reduce my presentation and stop sharing for a second just to see your responses. Yeah. In the chat. So what do you think is the most important aspect for receiving investments? Okay, I'm getting first comments. MVP, prototyping, market validation, strong team. Okay, keep them coming. MVP, proof of concept. Okay. Driving a strong impact while still being sustainable, strong market share. Okay, interesting. Market fitness. Keep going. Sorry, I just had to change location. Team and community impact. Okay, so these are great responses, and they give me idea. Yeah, they give me some good material to discuss with you, because I definitely think that all of these are very important. However, in our experience, one of the most important aspects to actually receive investments, and I'm not talking necessarily grants, but actual, you know, debt, equity, etc., is to have a solid revenue stream. Exactly. And not just projections, but actually a history of sales and of revenue. And this is something, and I think Giorgio said it very well and showed it very well in his presentation in terms of, you know, at what stage can you expect and can you look for, and are you prepared for what type of financing? And then with the Mohammed's presentation, I was really interested to see that, you know, in Egypt, you're very lucky to have these kind of seed financing available, because in most other markets, you know, the earliest stage where you get 5 to 10K, maybe a bit more is, or 2 to 10K is incubation. And then only at acceleration, you can maybe reach a little bit higher. And only at acceleration is actually where we recommend to focus on getting investments in the more traditional sense of investments. Sorry, okay, impact, social and environmental impact. Okay. So I'm going to go back to sharing my screen and give you a little bit. Thank you all for these inputs. This is great. And impact is definitely important, and, you know, depending on which okay, I'm still sharing. Good. Depending on which, you know, investor you're targeting, is more or less important. You know, some impact investors will have very specific requirements. But the interesting thing is that even the impact investors, at least the ones that I know of, still have requirements on the financial aspects as well. So they will want to see, you know, kind of a solid revenue stream already. Okay. So just to tell you that, yes, there are lots of resources out there, and in order to learn a little bit more about what investment means, we've developed specifically for water entrepreneurship a publication that looks into this. And you're not supposed to read this, but just to show you that in this publication there is a graph. Or basically, this is a summary graph of what this publication is talking about, and then it looks through all the types of you know, financing instruments there are, from grants that are, let's say, zero repayment necessary to you know, investments such as debt, where the repayment is a very important factor. And so here you see that there's a comparative analysis of, you know, what kind of enterprise, what kind of investor, what kind of maturity, what kind of collateral is expected at which stage. So you're very welcome to, and I can put it after the presentation. I can put the link in the chat to the website that has all of these resources, but actually you see it here as well, sswm.info, which is the Sustainable Sanitation and Water Management Toolbox. And I'd like to draw your attention to two specific toolboxes or perspectives, as we call them. There's one called Financing Water Impact and one called Innovating Business Models. And I'm just going to take you briefly to the website relating to that. Okay. So this is the website I already went into. And here you can find Financing Water Impact. And you'll find a bunch of tools and resources that we've put together with various partners at various stages. There's some Financing 101. There's different financing instruments that are explained with further details. So you can read up on, for example, revenue-based loans. What is it? You know, some key features, tips, some case studies, and here's the case study of Djibu that I will present to you in a second. But also, and similar, we've actually fed the information from this investor map into the investor map that Giorgio also talked about, that is available through the SwitchMed program, because we collaborated with with you on this at some point. And just to give you an idea, so of course, more relevant for the markets that we work in, there's maybe more examples, but you can go and have a look here at the different switches fund, for example, at Alfanar. And then you can click on it and you can find a little bit more information about what type of investment they offer, and maybe a website or something that through which you can then find a contact. And okay, this is what I wanted to show you. And then the second thing, because I asked you, what is important for getting investments. And I think working typically, I very often work with, environmental and green and blue entrepreneurs. And they very often are very passionate about impact, which is great. And they often come from the engineering background, which I'm sure many of you are engineers as well, or have someone in the team or a co-founder that is. And what is really interesting is that typically engineers focus a lot on innovation on the product. So your innovation is focused on, when someone asks you what's innovative about your business and your enterprise, you will start telling me very commonly about, your product. But what's important to remember is that, and what is something that, business support organizations and investors increasingly look at, is innovation through the business model. And so basically, what am I talking about here? I'm talking about doing things a little bit like more innovatively, either by maybe sourcing bigger volumes, aggregating, or by franchising, or so different business models that are adapted to the market needs and really help you generate revenue, and that are a little bit innovative on the market. So I'm going to go back to the presentation and talk a little bit about the example of Jibu, which is actually a company from East Africa that focuses on water treatment and distribution. And they have developed water kiosks that purify water resources in urban and peri-urban areas. And they decided to do this through a franchise system. So they have managed to create profitable units, and then they also use the kiosk and the treatment infrastructure as assets that can later on be used as collateral, which is important for an investor, because if he feels, okay, this investment is still a little bit risky, but then there is at least the collateral of this machinery, then I have a safety net there in case the investment doesn't work out very well. And so basically this was used then by Jibu to provide a basis to access revenue-based loans that help to provide liquidity to expand the business. Okay, so a few tough lessons learned that I would recommend to you. And please be aware that I'm talking from my experience. Some other markets might have different resources available, but in Lebanon, Jordan, it's typically, in early stages, it's grants, which are definitely helpful, but shouldn't become the main source of your financing or survival over the long term. But are rather there to test new markets, expand production capacity at individual points. And one of the drawbacks when you speak to more advanced businesses that have received different types of investments is that grants are actually kind of a bit resource intensive to manage, and sometimes because of a certain impact expectation from the donor actually take you away from your core focus of the business. So some of the more advanced businesses that we're supporting prefer equity or debt financing at later stages. But so we are seeing investments, and we are seeing investors willing to invest. So there is always this talk about, there's a lack of funding, a lack of financing, and I really don't see it so much. I see that there are gaps and at certain stages, at certain levels of development of an enterprise. But in general, there is no lack of investment or financing. And what we're seeing is that there is rather a lack of enterprises that are investment ready. So in my opinion, what you should focus on, before even going out to ask for investments, would be to really develop a reliable record of customers, sales, and revenue, even for the impact funds, as I mentioned. So maybe just a small, another publication that we worked on, because many of your countries, I guess, are undergoing or have undergone or might undergo in the future as different levels of crises. And what country better than Lebanon to use as a case study for that? Unfortunately, in the last years. So we've tried to basically gather various lessons learned from the different crises and how investors and how entrepreneurs operated and changed during these different crises. So Lebanon has undergone multiple crises since 2012, but then since 2019 specifically, and obviously that engendered, a complete devaluation of the currency, difficult logistics in terms of, production, etc. But mainly, and this is relevant for enterprises and investors, the closure of the banks. So anyone who had money in the bank can't, since 2019, get that money out. So obviously, the investment capacity of both the entrepreneur himself, but also investors that are willing to invest is extremely limited. And at the same time, because of all of these crises, the market has become incredibly risky, and basically most international investors have turned their backs on the country. So here are a few other threats that brings along, such as brain drain and reduced capacity of customers to pay for the product, etc. But it also creates interesting opportunities, such as high demand for sustainable alternatives. For example, Lebanon was not able to import organic fertilizer, couldn't rely on government electricity anymore, etc. So it's interesting to see what that crisis engenders. But along with it, it also creates a change in your clients and in your customers. And so, for example, when we talk about green businesses that offer services, affordable alternatives, and have the environmental and social impact really as part of their business model, we talk about a lockstep model. And if that lockstep model focuses on the base of the pyramid, then even during a crisis, you can have a very successful business model. And I can talk about the example of Fabric Aid, for example, who are, repurposing or recycling, if you like, secondhand clothing and offering that to a low-income customer market. And despite the crisis, they have been thriving. I'll skip this one because I think I've taken a lot of time already, and open for questions, and looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you so much, Johanna. That was a really amazing presentation. So much information and details on funding and the support services in the local context in Lebanon, which is clearly very useful. I am sad to say that will be the last presentation. We definitely did not end with the last but not least. Our other presenter is unfortunately unable to join us. So we'll start the question and answer session right away. Okay, thank you very much. I don't think we have any other questions from the chat or raised hands. So I think we can close this workshop. Thank you so much to all of our speakers. I think we had a great array of tools and sources for accessing different tools in the different countries. I guess the speakers are happy for you to get in touch with them and their organizations, or I will send a wrap-up email after this with the links and resources that were shared on the chat to give you a kind of summary of what we talked about and the different tools. And thank you so much, everybody, for joining. I think it was very beneficial. And we'll see you at the next workshop, which will take place in July, most likely at the end of July, on a different source of finance. So we'll be discussing something completely different next time. So do watch out for your emails on that. Thank you once again to all of our speakers and our participants. Have a lovely rest of your afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christine. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.